Rev up your engines!
Now, here's a great one that I can't resist. If you saw the news, Tesla's investors are suing Elon Musk for $13 billion. And why? Because he had Tesla buy Solar City, a solar panel company that really isn't making any money at all. Turns out he's the biggest shareholder in them, and they say that he forced people and let Tesla buy Solar City. You know, how they bought it was, for your Solar City shares, you got a certain percentage of Tesla shares. So since he was the biggest shareholder in Solar City, he ends up getting a bunch of his own Tesla shares back from that investment, which are now worth all those billions of dollars. Well, it turns out that his cousins or somebody ran the Solar City, and he was the biggest individual investor in Solar City. Kind of a shady deal. Plus, the Solar City company isn't making any money. That solar panel stuff, let me tell you, I've known people that put them on, and they told me to every single man and woman that did it that they would never do it again. They said the money that they invested into it versus the electricity they got back versus how long they last before they break and then they got to be replaced, you lose out. They're not economically viable as they stand today. They don't generate enough electricity to pay for themselves, and then you got these big heavy things on your roof. You better have a really strong roof and an infrastructure on your house, because if the rafters start cracking and breaking, they can destroy your house. The roof will come caving in because they're pretty heavy things. Now, Elon went on court for 3 days, I guess. He's trying to defend himself, saying, buying the Solar City was part of my master plan to take over the universe electrically, right? It's just a lot of fishy stuff going on. It didn't pan out either. It wasn't a good investment for Tesla. It's not a company that's making that much money. Like I said, you look into solar panels. It's not a logical thing. It doesn't make any sense. It makes sense for the companies who build them and sell them to you because they're making a profit. But it does not make sense economic for the person putting it in. You don't get enough electricity back, and they have a limited lifespan. They're on your roof. If you live in an area where there's hailstorms and stuff, hey, guess what? That stuff's going to get shattered. You know, if trees fall on, that stuff's going to get shattered. They just don't produce enough energy, so the company isn't doing that good. So they're suing them for $13 billion. They said, you got to give that stock back because it shouldn't have been done. It was a sweetheart insider dealer. Well, geez, hey, it sure looks fishy to me. All right, I got something positive to say about Ford and the Ford Maverick and something negative. Now, originally, the Ford Maverick is made in Mexico in the same plant that they make the Ford Bronco Sport. A lot of people were assuming it was going to have that same 3-cylinder turbo engine, which I can't stand. I think it's stupid. It's too small. But Ford, as far as I'm concerned, made a wise decision with 4-cylinder engines. You can either get an EcoBoost 4 that puts out 250 horsepower, or you can get the Atkinson Cycle hybrid one, like a Toyota Prius with an Atkinson Cycle gasoline engine for the bad part. The whole thing that they were selling these Ford Mavericks for was it was going to be affordable, and they said they're going to be under $20,000. That would be cheaper than a Ford Model T when you put inflation on it. A Ford Model T would be like 25 grand added inflation. But that's not the case. I looked up and called all over the country. You could buy these Ford Mavericks. And the cheapest one, which was the lowest one that just had steel wheels, plain everything, not all-wheel drive, just front-wheel drive, and the cheapest one I could find was $26,000. The most expensive one was one in Texas that the dealership was selling for $56,000. That's almost 3 times the $20,000 supposed price of these low-cost trucks. So they're a line of baloney that this is an affordable vehicle. 56 grand, they're supposed to be under 20,000. To me, it just shows the greed. Now, Ford's having a problem with their dealers saying, oh, they're marking them up too much, blah, blah, blah. They're obviously letting them. The cheapest one was 26, which is well over 20, and that was the bottom line with steel wheels. The fanciest one was $56,000. Almost 3 times supposed under $20,000 price tag. I like the idea that they're not putting those crappy 3-cylinder engines in them. Now, they're still made in the same factory as the Ford Bronco Sports. Realize Ford Bronco Sports, they're a lot different vehicle than the Ford Broncos that they make in Michigan. They are all made in Mexico, the Ford Bronco Sports. At least Ford put a 4-cylinder engine in all the Mavericks. They're charging way too much money for them. I find it for $56,000. That's nonsense. That's greed. The whole thing was to build an affordable vehicle, and they're charging 56 grand for some of them. That's not affordable for some little truck. That's a bunch of nonsense. So I'm calling them out on that one. I like the choice of engines. No 3-cylinder crapper. But the price that they're selling them for is just ridiculous. Well, and speaking of Ford suspended productions of the Mustangs for a while now because of, guess what? The chip shortage. Now, they keep saying, oh, we're going to make our own chips, we're going to do it in-house. Well, obviously, they're not doing that yet. And they got to shut the factory down. They can't build any Mustangs for a while because they don't have enough chips. And like I've said in the past, I mean, a lot of this is dinosaur technology. It's the manufacturer's fault themselves because they're using chips that nobody else does. The car chips are so basic and prehistoric computer-type chips compared to what the new ones are like. So why would a company who sells them chips want to sell them a bunch of cheap ones when they can make more expensive ones and sell them to other things like home electronics and things like that? It only makes business sense to say, oh, we don't want to make all those cheap ones. We don't make a profit. We'll make other ones and sell them to other people. What do we care? But it's still biting them in the butt. They got to shut it down. And I read yesterday, even Toyota now forecasting they're going to make a lot less cars than they thought they were because of the chip shortage. Now, I mean, it's all their own fault. They could have easily had it in their own supply chain internally. If they're such cheap chips to begin with, they aren't that hard to build like the newer ones are. But, you know, that's how companies go. They're all dead from the neck up. And then when something happens, they have a knee-jerk reaction and react against it. Just like now, hot and heavy for selling SUVs and big trucks that get horrible gas mileage. And I'll talk about the future. We're going to get great gas mileage. But we're selling these big ones now, so let's just keep making them and pushing them out. You know, it takes them a while, a long time, sometimes 5-10 years to react to anything in the auto industry. It's a very slow-moving industry. Now, Ford says they're working with a company called Global Foundries, that they're going to work on their own chips, but you know how long it's going to take them to get something going like that. And even then, they're working with another company. They're not doing it themselves. I'll tell you, one thing that kind of breaks me up is I've been to some of these large corporations, and you go in a building, how many engineers are working in this building? They'll say, oh, well, there's 2,500. And it's like 2,500 engineers, you know? You'd think you could do it with 25 or 250. Do you really need 2,500? Maybe if they had the right people doing the right things, they wouldn't have to be farming it out to other countries. They got a lot of engineers probably sitting around doing nothing. And in the past, before people all got mad on me because I said, hey, you make some bad products, and I actually got into all these places on tours, and they weren't doing anything, so they came out and watched me talk, right? Now, that'll never happen again because they don't let me in those places anymore. You know, they want to be secretive about it. There's a lot of people doing a lot of nothing in these corporations, let me tell you. My father-in-law told me years ago when he worked at a corporation, he was a vice president, he said, I could fire 80% of the people in this office and make it work better. There's so much waste. So many people that are making big money that we don't even need. But, you know, one of them's a guy who supposedly runs the place, so he's not going to fire himself. Basic Mechanics says, my wife's car is dead. The transmission gave up. I want a good 6-cylinder used car that I can get for less than 10 grand. I don't trust Hyundai. Okay, well, I don't either. Here's the problem. As of today, the average used car in the United States is $29,100. You're looking for a V6 under 10 grand. Good luck finding a good one because the prices have gone insane. You're going to have to get an old one. Now, I would just say strictly look at Toyotas and Hondas. They both make really good V6 engines. And whether you're looking at a Camry or a Sienna van or stuff. But the problem is, the prices, 10 grand, is not much for a Toyota or Honda these days. Like I say, the average used car is $29,100. You're going for like 1/3 of that. You're going to have to get an old one. There's no arguing there with some high mileage probably. But stick to the Toyotas and the Hondas. Those are the best. That kind of money, you never know, but you're going to have a hard time because the prices are way up, and 10 grand for a used good Toyota or Honda isn't that much money these days. I've seen people buy Honda Accords, 190,000 miles. Geez, the things went for like $14,000. So you're going to have to really be looking with a fine-tooth comb here to find good ones. Spud Belt says, 2017 Nissan Titan, are they any good? I'm looking to buy 2017 Nissan Titan SV. I need a full-size truck. Love the room. Wondering if they're good trucks or not. From my experience, I'm not a Nissan fan, but those Titans are good trucks. Big old V8 engines. They can go a long distance. I got a customer, one's got 350 and it's still running pretty good. Yeah. Of course, realize one thing. They are tremendous gas hogs. They're a big, heavy truck with a big V8 engine, rear-wheel drive. They are gas hogs. If you can accept poor gas mileage and you want a big truck, hey, it's not a bad choice for one main reason. The Toyotas go for so much money. You can get a much better deal on a Titan than you can on a Tundra, the big Tundra. you're going to pay a lot more. You can sometimes get a good deal. It's 2017. It's still not all that old. You can get a good price on one if you don't mind the bad gas mileage. Of course, be logical. Find a guy like me to check it out before you buy. You can't trust anybody selling a used vehicle. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.